Connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion. Delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guests and repeat offenders, both of them.
I'm cuckoo and you're cuckoo, so let's take a chance to do a new dance. Well, I'm cuckoo and you're cuckoo.
Yes, they are both cuckoo. Jim Norton, Blake Vartanian, Realty Pro 100. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Ron.
Happy
Looking forward to another
2024.
fine mess.
Another fine mess you've gotten me into. Hey, what are we celebrating today? We've got to celebrate every day on Ron Siegel. It's Jim Norton Day? Oh, no, that says National Backward Day. Okay.
I wish I could go back.
Inspire your heart with art. Okay.
It is what it is.
Art.
Now, this is one of my favorites here today. And you're going to laugh when I tell you that today's National Hot Chocolate Day. Now, in my world, I probably have hot chocolate at least once a day. But it's usually right around 8 o'clock at night, give or take. You ever taken and put maybe a little under a shot of peppermint schnapps into your hot chocolate? Tastes just like a Girl Scout cookie. I'm just throwing that out there. Peppermint schnapps and hot chocolate. It's the way to go. Let's take a look and see what the markets are doing today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 23 points. Doesn't matter right now. S&P 500 is down 39 points. The NASDAQ is down 209 points. Oil down $2 a barrel. And the 10-year Treasury is down a little, about 6.5 basis points. But all of that is just mute. Nothing is going to matter until about 11:30 our time. Now, you know that what's going to happen at 11 o'clock, we're going to get the Federal Reserve statement, and they're going to tell us that interest rates are not changing. So that's already a given. If it were going to change, I told you yesterday, Nick Timrose would have told us that. He's their mole. But at 11:30, after they give the prepared remarks, and then we get the remarks coming out of the Federal Reserve, that's when the fireworks start. We'll see what's really going to happen at that point. Let's see what's going on in the world right now. You got to love some of the things that are going on in our world. Nancy, we've got a judge. Got to love this one. Judge wants I don't know where judges come into making policy anymore. No longer can you build any, no more home renovations in Beverly Hills because there's a lack of affordable housing. Now, how do you define affordable housing in Beverly Hills? Does that mean like $10 million? Whatever? I mean, I don't know what is affordable housing in Beverly Hills. But the judge said, until they've got these affordable housing units, no more home renovations. Wonder where the judge wants to put these affordable housing units.
But you've got to go back to what you said. I can't remember the formulas, and I haven't read it. I have not found a good article on this. I was watching this. There was a guy on this morning talking about the same thing. And there used to be a formula, and it was based on either the jurisdiction you're in, a percentage of that. It's not like affordable housing. Like you don't say it's you have to have
Probably a percentage of the
50
area
unit-
mean.
Yeah,
It's
it's not like 50 units at $900 a month or something. It's a percentage.
Okay, I'll
of
take
it.
900 a month in
Okay,
Beverly Hills.
but
Well, I
it-
don't like Beverly Hills
But
anyway.
so affordable would be the percentage of, like, say, in Beverly Hills. So if the average house is 15 million,
Affordable is 10.
Is 10 exactly.
Okay.
So I don't know what this
So-
judge. I'd say I got to find a really good article on what actually came down.
Would
I
FHA
like to see it.
finance that?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, and then we got another judge. We'll go to the other side. Now, I don't know. Did you hear Joe Rogan on this one? He said
No, I have not.
he doesn't like California because he doesn't want to live in a communist state. Joe Rogan made that comment. Now you go to the other coast, Delaware. You got to love this one. The judge in Delaware has voided Elon Musk's pay package. $56 billion pay package. The judge said it's excessive. Now, I know it's a lot of money. No question about it being a lot of money. But the people that brought this case, I have to wonder about them. Now, the pay package went into effect, I think, 6 years ago. Elon Musk gets zero salary all that time. And he had to make certain hurdles. He got stock options. And if certain things happened with the company over time, he made extra money. A lot of extra money. But the judge says it's no good. Now, do you know what would happen? Now, I got a question, and I do question this all the time. Elon Musk. So he's a CEO of Tesla. He owns Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He owns SpaceX, or it's a private company as well. How do you run all these companies at one time and give the best to all of them? I don't understand that. But when you look at what the stock value has done on Tesla, and just a question, this idiot that brought the lawsuit, number one, if he was unhappy with the pay package, he had every right to sell his shares and say, I don't want to be part of this. The other part of it is, what do you think would happen to Tesla right now if Elon Musk resigned? Do you think the stock would drop 75%, 80%?
At a minimum, because it's the only electric car company that's actually making money.
Right.
All the rest of them are losing, bleeding out major cash.
Yeah.
It
And
would-
so
it
you
would
look
look
at it and you
like
say, there's
Apple-
no
it would look like
possible way
Apple
that
without
these guys
Steve
are these guys are not going to make any money, and they're going to end up losing a massive amount on the stock price. So why in the world would you bring a lawsuit like that?
What's a reasonable package then? 25 billion?
No, he didn't. You know something? So here's the issue.
Get it?
Here's the issue with that, Jim, because he said if we meet these hurdles over time, all I want is stock. You give me stock options.
It was brilliant.
And if we do great, I do great. If the company fails, because at that time, they weren't making any money. So if the company fails, he gets paid zero.
Eisner,
it goes back to
did the same thing at Disney. When he came back to resurrect Disney 40 years ago, he said the same thing. I won't take a salary. I'll just take a percentage of what I do to increase the stock value to this point in layers like this. And he made billions because he brought Disney back. But today they pay the guy that's losing money at Disney, they pay him the same as Eisner, and he's losing money. So don't even start that.
Now you're starting to say something, Blake?
Well, I mean, money, the valuation of money, first of all, has changed so much over time. $56 billion doesn't buy what it used to.
That doesn't go quite as far as
have you seen the price of cars? No, but the reality is, not everyone gets a trophy, and we're in a competitive world, whether we want to believe it or not. And he's created multiple business models that are highly successful. How many people could create SpaceX and actually have it going into space safely and returning to Earth? He's created.
NASA sure couldn't do it.
No, they couldn't, and they
Right?
that was their only mission.
Wouldn't that be the federal government?
Right?
Sorry.
Even Star Trek was more believable than NASA. So I'm sorry, but
the question you have to ask is when did that investor come into play, or when did he join his stock? What he purchased?
It doesn't matter.
And then how much has he made? Is he just bitter because Elon made more than him? But if he got Tesla stock, he's made money.
Absolutely. That's the whole issue right there. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, what are you doing with your home equity? We're going to talk about it. Foreclosure activity is still lower than the norm. Able accounts offer tax benefits. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Hey there, friends. Wondering if now is the right time to buy a home? Or are you waiting for a bunch of foreclosures? The facts speak loud and clear. Defaults and foreclosures are down. Sure, we might be headed towards a recession. But did you know interest rates typically drop and real estate values often go up during a recession? So what are you waiting for? Higher prices or higher payments? Don't navigate these waters alone. Connect with RonSiegelRadio.com today. That's RonSiegelRadio.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, Geneva does have a down payment assistance program that actually works. Not like the California Dream program that's coming out again in a couple of months. And it's going to be another one, just like before, a hoax that did not help a whole lot of people. Call me. I'll get you in touch with the Geneva DPA, down payment assistance. Every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates. We do not know APR, points paid, points received. We just know the locked rate. It's with consumers across 42% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. 30-year conforming loans yesterday locked at 6.599. Jumbo loans locked at 7.092. FHA 6.37. USDA, that's the rural areas, generally no down payment, 6.503. And the best loan on the market for those that earned it, that would be the 30-year VA loan, 6.179. That is the information. If you want our commentary, our thoughts on what's going on in the mortgage world, rsrmarketminute.com, rsrmarketminute.com. We send that out each morning as early as the data allows so that you have some thoughts about it, make an informed decision. But let's take a look, and that's the information from yesterday. Let's talk about what's going on today. We'll look at the S&P 500 if I can get it to show up on my screen, which I am not getting it to show up on my screen. But that's a whole different story. But none of those numbers really are going to make a whole lot of difference until the Fed comes out. Down 38 points right now is where the S&P 500 is. 10-year Treasuries down 10 basis points. That's the yield, 3.96. Good news there. The mortgage-backed security, the bond, is up 27 basis points, which means rates are down so far for the day. Again, it's going to all come down to what the Federal Reserve says. But what's driving all of this information? So GDP, stocks and mortgage bonds, both higher to start the day. Yesterday, the 5-year auction was met with weak demand. People did not want to buy that bond. Means they didn't think that price would go up and rates go down. That's the reason for that. Later this afternoon, there's going to be roughly $40 billion in 7-year treasuries, which will have to be absorbed by the market. We'll see more about that. Let's see what else we've got going on here. We've got the ADP report came out today. 107,000 jobs created during the month, weaker than the 150,000 jobs expected. Goods producing sectors added 30,000 jobs. Manufacturing only added 2,000 after falling last month. Construction added 22,000. Services added 77,000 after 155,000 in the previous month. Leisure and hospitality was the biggest portion of that. Try and figure that one out. ADP has also reported that annual pay for job stayers increased by 5.2%, down from 5.4. Job changers saw an average increase of 7.2. Subtract those two. 7.2 minus 5.2. That's the premium you get for changing jobs. That was at about 7% premium a few months back. Now it's only a 2% premium. So it makes more sense for people to stay where they are. We're going to watch for the BLS report tomorrow. No, I did not say the BS report, even though it is BS when it comes out on Friday. Equity residential, talking about apartment rents. Apartment list release. Yesterday we got the apartment list release, which is known covers only new rents. Equity residential covers both new and renewals. They showed that new rents declined 3.7% year over year, a larger drop than the apartment list of 1% decline. Renewal rents were up 4.9%. So your landlord does not want you to stay. They make more money when you leave. Just throw that out there for you. Blending new and existing rents together, they saw a 1% increase from last year, much different than the 6.2% and 6.4% we saw in the CPI and the PCE. Big issue that the Fed's going to be looking at right now. The Fed loves the PCE report. If you look at the last 12 months, it's been at 2.9% is their core PCE. They want that to be at 2. But finally, they've started waking up, and instead of looking at a 12-month run rate, they've been looking at a 6-month run rate to see what's more current, and we're at the second month in a row that we've been below 2%. So we're at 1.85 is where that run rate is going. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial when you're ready for that next home loan. Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990. Now, when you take all that information into account, interest rates are going to go down. The Fed does not control mortgage rates. Interest rates are not going down now, today. They will not go down. This is my forecast on March 20th. The Federal Reserve will not lower interest rates on March 20th. And as I've been telling you for about 8 months now, in May is when we're going to start seeing interest rates drop. We will see that they're going to come out that unemployment, 3.7 today, will be right around 5.5 by then. Yes, that is my forecast. California is already at 4.8% unemployment. So California, you got a big population here. That leads the way. So we're going to see interest rates are going to come down because the Federal Reserve is going to have to reduce rates to try and spur the economy. That'll filter through. Yes, that'll filter through to the only thing that the Federal Reserve's number affects is the discount rate. But the Fed funds discount rate does affect prime rate, and almost all of your home equity lines of credit come off of prime rate. So then we start looking and saying, okay, mortgage rates, they're going to go down. Now you can, I just told you that they're moving down a bit today just on some anticipation numbers, and we'll see what kind of carryover there is. Now, we also know that the real estate values in a recession, which we are going into no matter what anybody wants to tell you, unless we're already there, real estate values historically go up during a recession. There's a lot of equity out there right now. People have boatloads of equity. Now, we've talked about the lock-in effect of interest rates. People don't want to buy anything when interest rates are over 5, especially when so many people have an under 4 rate. So what does all of this mean? Well, that's what we're going to chat about. Equity. Blake, what do you think about home equity? What's that? What can we do? We got all that equity there, and home equity in all cases has a 0 rate of return.
Absolutely. And when you look at anytime your denominator is 0, you're going to end up with a 0 outcome, right?
Sure.
So when you look at your investment strategy, if there are this is specifically for the real estate agents, because I believe real estate agents are either they're strong advocates for the real estate industry, or they're strong advocates against the real estate industry. And when
a real estate agent would be an advocate against the industry?
Well, because of their attitude and their lack of understanding, because they get frustrated and they say there's no opportunity. And so once they start to see that there's no opportunity, for those who see the opportunity, there's a greater opportunity.
Sure.
So when I look at each zip code in Orange County, as an example, has up to 1/3, up to 35% of the properties owned without a mortgage. Those people can transfer to another property, keep their property tax base, and they don't need any cash typically, or a loan to complete their transaction if they're moving laterally.
So my son, who doesn't own a house, but if he did,
Yeah.
20 years old, he can move his tax base with him, his property tax base.
Well, there's certain guidelines you have to look at, but within all counties, tax bases are now transferable under those conditions in the state of California. I'm not a tax expert, but I'm just saying is that there are many ways.
So you need to make sure you talk to your tax people.
Of course.
Right.
But the point is that to shut down and say, I can't afford to move because interest rates are high, that's the first objection that you have to overcome as a real estate professional. So when I look at, in 1981, I get my real estate license, and there's an immediate headline in the Dallas Morning News and Dallas Times Herald that says only one property in all of Dallas, the city of Dallas, transferred in February of 1981. I've looked for that headline. I can't find it in the historical records, but I remember my brother and I thinking, wow, this was a really stupid time for me to get my real estate license, because only one real estate agent or two real estate agents participated in that one transaction in a city with over 1 million people at the time.
That's massive.
It was massive, and it was a scary headline. And do you know that the next year was my first full year in real estate, and I sold 24 houses because I was young, I was energetic, I didn't let things stand in the way, and the market shifted, because the one thing that's true about real estate is nothing stays static forever. It doesn't even stay static from one day to the next. Every day there's a new market created.
Not only does it never stay static forever, it doesn't stay static ever.
That's right. So when I look at the consultations that take place between a real estate agent and the consumer, what is the goal? Is the goal to get the next transaction so the real estate agent can put a commission check in their pocket? Or is it
there's a lot of them that is the goal.
And that's the wrong goal, in my opinion. In my experience, after 40-something years, I've learned a lot about taking care of the client.
And we don't let those people on Ron Siegel Radio because they've got the wrong motivation and the wrong heart.
Right, and they give us a bad reputation. Right? So the byproduct of what we do is is rewarded through the financial outcome that we bring our clients and our customers. And so when you look at the historical data, my grandfather said in 1978, California values have peaked at $25,000 per apartment door, and they will never go up. And it was January of 1978, and he told us to move from Orange County to Dallas. And we moved. I was 19. We moved from Orange County to Dallas. Today, those apartments that are in Orange County, he missed it by a little bit, because the valuations are over $400,000 per door on the properties that he owned, because he owned some very high valued properties.
Wow.
I mean, and so when I look at the valuations, he owned starting with only 8 apartment units in 1968. If he owned everything he owned today, he would be worth about $4.5 billion.
So he could almost pay Elon Musk's salary.
He could almost.
You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. What do you do with this home equity? You don't need to call the real estate agent. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio. We're going to educate you on these issues right now, and then we'll put you in touch with agents that understand what we're talking about. You can reach me anytime off air, number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Let's take a look and see. We've got foreclosure activity still lower than the norm. Surprise, surprise. Have you seen headlines talking about the increase in foreclosures in today's housing market? If so, they may leave you feeling a bit uneasy about what's ahead. But remember, these clickbait titles don't always give you the full story. The truth is, if you compare the current numbers with what usually happens in the market, you'll see there's no need to worry. Can somebody tell this to Diana Olick, please? Putting the headlines into perspective, the increase that the media is calling attention to is misleading. That's because that's a real surprise, isn't it? That they would be giving you misleading information.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
That's because they're only comparing the most recent numbers to a time where foreclosures were at historic lows. And that's making it sound like a bigger deal than it is. In 2020 and 2021, the moratorium and forbearance program helped millions of homeowners stay in their homes, allowing them to get back on their feet during a very challenging period. When the moratorium came to an end, there was an unexpected rise in foreclosures. But just because foreclosures are up doesn't mean the housing market is in trouble. Historical data shows there is not a wave of foreclosures. Instead of comparing today's numbers with the last few abnormal years, it's better to compare to long-term trends, specifically the housing crash, since that's what people worry may happen again. Take a look at a graph if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed. It uses foreclosure data from Adam, a property data provider, to show foreclosure activity has been consistently lower since the crash in 2008. And if you, again, the chart that we've got there, U.S. foreclosure activity increases from 2022, but still below pandemic levels. So look at that chart. On 2021, now this is where the media gives you a bunch of BS. 2021, there was 151,000 foreclosures, foreclosure filings. In 2022, there was 324,000 nationwide numbers. Media is going to come out and say that these numbers, that the foreclosures are doubling. In 2010, there was 2.9 million. So this doubling number is still 90% lower. Think about that. While foreclosure filings are up in the latest report, it's clear that this is nothing like it was back then. In fact, we're not even back at levels we'd see in more normal years like 2019. Rick Sharga, founder and CEO of the C.J. Patrick Company, explains, quote, foreclosure activity is still only at about 60% of pre-pandemic levels, unquote. That's largely because buyers today are more qualified and less likely to default on their loans. Delinquency rates are still low, and most homeowners have enough equity to keep them from going into foreclosure. Molly Basil, principal economist at CoreLogic, says, quote, U.S. mortgage delinquency rates remained healthy in October, with the overall delinquency rate unchanged from a year earlier and the serious delinquency rate remaining at historic low. Borrowers in later stages of delinquencies are finding alternatives to defaulting on their home loans, unquote. The reality is, while increasing, the data shows a foreclosure crisis is not where the market is today or where it's headed. Bottom line, even though the housing market is experiencing an expected rise in foreclosures, it's nowhere near the crisis levels seen when the housing bubble burst. If you have questions, give me a call, 800-306-1990. Right now, I'm going to say there's very, very little reason to go through foreclosure. Very little reason. There are boatloads of equity. Blake was just talking about equity in the last segment. There's boatloads of equity out there. Why would you walk away from that equity and put a ding on your credit report for the next 7 to 10 years when you can sell your property, take some of your equity, pay off some of your other debts, and take some of that equity and buy a new house? Just throwing that out there for you. Don't do it. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. So think about this concept. And I brought this up in the first segment. We talked a little bit about this. So Elon Musk goes out and says that don't pay me a salary, give me a stock options. And if I do well, then I make boatloads of money, being him, not me. If I don't do well, I eat it, right? That's called opportunity. He saw opportunity in the market. Now, I don't know too many people that are going to make $55 billion over the next 5 or 10 years. I'm going to be real straight. I don't know too many of them. Maybe Blake, but not most. But here's the issue. In our own way, we've developed equity in our properties, and now you're sitting at a point of opportunity. What can you do with that equity? It's called opportunity. Don't let it just sit there. And, I love when Blake comes on and he came up with this topic today about talking about this, because there's a lot of real estate agents out there that don't understand this. They're transactional. They're not looking to be a advisor for life. That's the big difference. That's what we're talking about here. You can get educated. So let's talk that area. So you don't have to call your real estate agent, because about 3/4 of them don't understand what we're going to be talking about today. There's 1/4 of them that are decent, but 90% of real estate agents don't even do a transaction. So that's a different story.
But all your listeners are decent, Ron.
That's right.
Good people.
Well, no, but yeah,
because nobody's going to waste their time listening to us if they're not.
Right. And my point is that we want to educate on, taking that home equity. What can you do with it? And
a lot.
Okay, so give us some ideas, Jim.
Well, just think about it. If you're an older couple and you're thinking of selling, and maybe it's time you have to downsize, because the majority of houses in Orange County are 2-story. So the prize is the 1-story. But there's nothing wrong with selling right now. I mean, everybody says, oh, I don't want to be a buyer. I don't want to be a seller. I don't want to be anything. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and wait. This is the time to throttle it, man. This is the time to go, because one, the housing inventory is limited, but at the same time, so are the number of buyers. So depending on which way the housing market goes, there's going to be more buyers, or the prices are going to drop, and our interest rates are going to drop. It's always just going to get better. It can get worse, but if you're in the game, it's going to get better. So yeah, it's a good time to go ahead and sell that 2-story, pay cash, take the equity, pay cash for a 1-story. You still end up with no house payment. And
why do you want to pay cash for the 1-story though, when you're getting 0 rate of return on your home equity?
Because you could turn around and take that cash. You can still take that cash back out. I mean, how far do you want to go into that conversation? Because you can pay cash, you can buy something.
I never believe in home equity.
If you're worried, okay, mortgage, right? You never do. I know that. And but if you're worried that you're going to pay 6.5%, you want to pay 4.5% on your loan, then you're going to be a cash payer. If you're not worried about that, because it's going to go down eventually, and you're going to refi and you're going to do that, you're going to buy 2 properties.
What if you
follow
take?
What I'm saying? I mean, the scenarios are wide open depending on the individual and what their capabilities.
Well, let's say you own a house at the $1.3 or so million median home price, whatever that means, whatever the word median actually means. Right. We don't have to get into that conversation, but let's just say you have one of 1.3 million and you want to downsize and go to a senior retirement home, active living community. Why wouldn't you buy your own fourplex and go and live in one of the units, rent out the other 3, and you probably end up, on many circumstances, you could end up with a cash flow that's positive. You'd still own all the equity that you put into it, and you'd have tenants paying off whatever mortgage there is and putting cash in your pocket.
Right.
And
so let's think about exactly what you just said, Blake, because I'm going to challenge Jim all day on this one, because I'm not a believer in home equity because of the 0 rate of return.
Yes.
I'm going to look at the other way around from what you just said, Blake. That fourplex, if you're going to live in one of them, the new guidelines say that you can put 5% down.
Yes.
So you go and buy a $1.6 million fourplex. Is that available anywhere?
Yeah, well, maybe not in Orange County, but you can get 1.6, you can get 1.5, 1.4 all day long in certain zip codes.
Heck, I think there's one. I think
we have one listed at 1.6 million around there, and so yeah, I mean the comparison is relatively achievable.
So you're putting $80,000 down, and you're going to probably rent out the units in there, $2,000, $3,000 a month, something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Right. So that's going to make your payments. You got it made. And now you live there for a year.
You freed up your cash.
Freed up your cash that you had to call Jim and go buy something for cash if he wants to pay cash for it.
Yeah.
Right. But the other side of it is, so even in Jim's scenario, okay, I want to wait until I get a 4.5% interest rate. Well, go in there and use some of that cash to buy some of the cash, not a lot of it, to buy down the rate to get that 4.5 rate today.
You're getting it now. Your problem is you're stuck on leaving the equity there. I'm trying to I said keep it working. Buy 2 houses. Don't.
There you go. That makes sense to me.
You keep getting stuck on that. I'm saying
pay cash.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm transferring. I've got 700 in equity in this, so I'm going. I mean, it's
you're suggesting reasonable leverage.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get. I mean, you got to remember, depending on the age of if the person, let's say the person's 70 years old, and they've just recently retired, but they want to downsize. That is someone that's not going to be willing to go ahead and take all that cash and spread it out onto more things. They're not going to do it. They're going to want to reduce their monthly as much as they can. So that equity is going to go right back into the house. So you got to reduce. But then they could turn around. Remember, they could turn around and reverse mortgage, and that equity can come right back out.
You buy with reverse mortgage too.
Or you can buy with reverse mortgage, depending on the sophistication of that 70-year-old person. Remember, that 70-year-old person probably hasn't bought a house in 20 years.
And if you're concerned about future demand for California housing, there's articles that you can find on Google that show that by 2025, the state has to build 3.5 million households or build housing units just to get even with the demand that currently exists.
So we know they're going to put 3,000 of them in Beverly Hills.
Not all 3.5 million, but 3,000.
Give us the rim shot for that because we knew that was coming. But no, the state of California.
You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, what happens to real estate in a recession? We'll talk about it. Using your home equity to grow your net worth, as Jim Norton said, in your golden years. It's about cash flow, and he's 100% correct. You can reach me anytime off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. You know, we're talking a lot about equity here today, home equity. And, of course, we set up a new site just for you, totally free to you, rsrhomeequity.com, rsrhomeequity.com. It is a free site, gives you an idea of current valuation of your property, estimate of how much you owe on your property, which comes out to what your equity is on your property. rsrhomeequity.com. So let's continue our conversation. Jim Norton, Blake Vartanian, Realty Pro 100. We're chatting a little bit about, and I love this idea because I when we started this broadcast in 2010, not today's broadcast, but the concept in 2010, the idea was we didn't want it just be an interview or an interrogation, or it was supposed to be just an idea of you get to eavesdrop on some friends' having coffee. Well, we don't have coffee here,
Yeah.
but we're just chatting. And the beauty of it is we never know what rabbit hole we're going to go down. Sometimes we agree with each other, sometimes we don't. But the idea is I believe, and I hope that you're getting some educational benefit from this, because Blake hit it on the head. There is a lot of people that are paralyzed right now. And one of the things that comes up is fear. And when we are fearful, a lot of times, and when we're uneducated, ignorant, we tend to look and say, okay, what's going on? We don't know. I mean, I can share with you, and I've told you, we're going into a recession, and recessions historically means real estate values go up. And we've got a chart for that shows it. Out of the last 6 recessions, and I'm going to count 5 of them are only legitimate. And I'll tell you why. So one of them in 1991, real estate values dropped 1.9%. In 1980, they were up 6.1. 1981, they're up 3.5. 2001, they're up 6.6. And 2020, they were up 6. Now, I kind of skip over 2008 because that was not, in my opinion, a traditional recession. That was real estate caused the economy to tank. And real estate values dropped 19.7%. Now, that hurt if it was one of your houses, but 8 or 9 years later, values are back up again. So real estate values, historically, they go up during a recession. So when do you want to buy? I think I'm going to wait until they're up higher. No, buy now.
Both of those in red. I can't read your chart from here. It's a little, looks like my eye chart. I can't read that either. But both of those are real estate driven, especially the 2008.
Right.
And they're the ones.
The other one's
there's one where there was a price reduction. Now
It took historic lender fraud though in order to get that recession.
Right.
But I was one of the fools in 2005 or so. I bought a rental in 2005, and it took, like you said, it tanked from there. It went nothing but down. It was click, 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 click in terms of value. But as soon as that recession bottom and came back, it's up. It's one of the best performing properties I've got. And
so you still have it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if you could go back in time, you'd buy it again?
I'd have bought 2.
There you go.
I would have bought 2 if I could go back in time.
So here's the thing now.
The quandary people have, real quick, if I can, the quandary people have when we go into a recession, you said, yeah, real estate values go up, interest rates go down, but then they freeze again because they're saying that, well, wait a minute, I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about how my income will get. And also the buyer pool goes down. Right now, the buyer pool is large. I mean, it's in good shape. But when you get
Josh, do we have a chart of the real estate of the rates? What rates do in the recession? I don't know if I gave you that one or not.
But
but hang on 1 second. What I want to really get into here is let's think about this concept.
Okay.
Blake mentioned earlier that there's a boatload of equity out there.
Mm-hmm.
If real estate values go up, and if you take out that equity right now, and real estate values go, and you buy real estate, and real estate values go up, you're in good shape.
Right.
If you take out if you really are scared that real estate values are going to drop, if you take out the equity right now, aren't you better off having pulled that equity out and put it into cash? Because if the real estate values do drop, which they won't, but if the real estate values
you want
do
the
drop,
bank to own the property, not you.
Right. Yeah. I've already got that cash. They're not the lender's not going to come back and say, something, that value dropped.
Right there. I think both of us over here froze right when you said that, is because the first thing that popped in our brains is the good old capital gains. And right away. So you've got to have a strategy. We've got to take
what capital gains are there if you refinance?
No, I'm just saying.
If you take your cash out.
None. And that's why you got to remember this is strategy. Some people think you're saying to take that equity out, you have to sell it.
Gotcha.
And then you're going to create that thing. But if you refi it out, you're sitting on a ton of cash. Now, someday you're going to pay capital gains on that.
Well, I'm going to die first.
Yeah. Leave it for your heirs. No, with the step up, they won't have to pay.
That's an important point. We kind of jest about it, but it's an important point because I've had some folks, where they've sold the property, dad says, I'm not feeling good, and I don't know that I'm going to last much longer. I'm in my 80s, and I'm going to sell this so my kids don't have to worry about it. And now they've just built a nice capital gains issue in,
Right.
as opposed to giving the property to the heirs, get that step up in basis, and we're not giving tax advice here,
No.
but get that step up in basis and let the heirs sell it and
Well,
not give Uncle Sam anything.
you didn't also finish the plot. Is that let's say you have a 1.3 medium house, you've got $200,000 left, so there's something like 800 to 1.1 million in cash available. You can only take out so much. Bank is going to give you all of it. So
Why not?
let's say, well, if you get to 100%, you get to 100%.
You get 80%, 75,
So
80%.
you get to 80%. So you've got this large chunk of cash now that you can put in the bank, and then you don't know when the capital gains is going to hit. But you also say, I can't live in this house anymore physically because I need a one story. Take your 800,000, buy the next property, keep that property, rent it out. keep it in the
Absolutely.
Pool,
Now,
and
before you go too
continue
far, I
on.
want to show.
You're not restricted, and you're not limited.
Let's take a look and see what the real estate rate, what the mortgage rates do in a recession.
There you go.
1980, 81, 91, 2001, 2008, 2020. Every single time, interest rates dropped. Every time. Now, thanks, Josh. I'm glad you got that one for us real quick. So here's the next step to what Jim just said. So you've got that 1.3. You're liberating 800,000. You're keeping the property and renting it out. More cash flow for you. That's good when you're in retirement. Now you take 300,000 of that 800,000 and go buy a $600,000 home with a reverse mortgage. Most people don't think you can buy with a reverse mortgage, but you can. No payments required for the rest of your life. Now we've still got $500,000. And if we take our traditional 4 or 5% annually from that, $25,000, that's more cash flow. And once you're in your golden years, I'm going to suggest it's not about payments. It's not about wealth building. It's not about accumulation. It's about cash flow. Right? When you get to be as old as Jim, you just care about,
It is. It's about cash.
How much do I have enough money? Is my money going to run out before my life?
Right.
That's the biggest. And we talked to Tom Borsick yesterday. The biggest fear that seniors have is running out of money.
Now, I got to gloat on one thing. I definitely might be in a little bit of trouble. February, my mother's 100th birthday.
Wow.
So
Nice.
maybe the genes are good. I don't know. Might not be mine. But at the point is like she has that. I have this. I'm in the middle of this conversation because we have it all the time. She worries that she's living in an assisted facility with she has an apartment basically in it.
Sure.
And has a lot of friends, does a lot of things, but at the same time she worries how long cash flow because she doesn't feel bad. She doesn't feel like tomorrow is the end of the world.
100 years old.
Yeah, at 100.
Isn't that amazing?
So
that's awesome.
So you're
a lucky man.
Well, I'm just saying, think about it.
No, having your mother around that long, if you've got a good relationship and she's in good health.
No, she's your mother still. So whether I'm my age today or whether I was 6 years old, I'm still getting yelled at.
God bless her. God bless her too.
And probably for cause.
She'd probably go, "Where you been?"
I know exactly.
How come you haven't called me?
Yelling at you and probably for good cause.
Because we grew up in the same neighborhood. So
if you want more information about how to use your home equity to get ahead further or to grow your real estate portfolio, and yes, I will say it again as I always do, real estate is the best investment class there is, bar none. And I can make a mathematical case for that anytime you want. But in any event, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean for engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime. 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We will talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.